Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus your United States. Now, this is a criminal case. Mr. is charged with two crimes. The first one is trespass and the second one is battery. Now, the definition of the elements of these crimes will be explained to you at a later time. However, the information in count one charges that Yonez on the 22nd day of February in the year 2005 in the county and state of Forsyth, which is the county of Broward, state of Florida, did, without being authorized, licensed, or invited, willfully enter or remain in a structure or conveyance, to wit, North Pine Island Road, apartment 2, Florida. And at the time the said defendant did unlawfully enter or remain in said structure, there was a human being present. And count two charges that Yonez on the 22nd day of February in the year 2005 in the county and state of Forsyth, which is again the county of Broward, state of Florida, did then and there commit a battery upon Marjorie Malone by actually and intentionally touching or striking her against the will of said Marjorie Malone. Now, it is your solemn responsibility to determine if the state has proved its accusations beyond a reasonable doubt against Mr. Your verdict must be based solely on the evidence or lack of evidence and the law. Now, the information which I have just read to you is not evidence, and you are not to consider it as any proof of guilt. It is my responsibility to decide which laws apply to this case and to explain those laws to you. It is your responsibility to determine what the facts of this case may be and to apply the law to those facts. Thus, the province of the jury and that of the court are well defined, and they do not overlap. Now, before I proceed further, let me explain to you how this trial is to be conducted. The attorneys will have an opportunity, if they wish, to make an opening statement. And the opening statement gives them a chance to tell you what evidence they believe will be presented during the trial. What the attorneys say is not evidence, and you're not to consider it as such. Now, following the opening statements, witnesses will be called to testify under oath. They will be examined and cross-examined by the attorneys. Documents and other exhibits may also be introduced as evidence. Now, following the presentation of the evidence, the attorneys, in this case Mr. would have the opportunity to give a closing or final argument. After the arguments are given, then I will instruct you on the law applicable to the case. And after my instructions, you will then retire to consider your verdict. Now, you should not form any definite or fixed opinions on the merits of the case until you have heard all the evidence, the argument of the attorneys, and in this case, Mr. and the instructions on the law by me. Until that time, you should not discuss the case among yourselves. Now, during the course of the trial, I may take recesses, during which time you will be permitted to separate and to go about your personal affairs. And during these recesses, you will not discuss the case with anyone, nor permit anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about the case. If anyone attempts to say anything to you or in your presence about the case, you should tell them that you are on the jury trying the case and ask them to stop. If they persist, you should immediately contact my court deputy, who will then contact me. Now, the case must be tried by you only on the evidence presented during the trial in your presence and the presence of the defendant, the attorneys, and myself. You should not conduct any investigations of your own. You must not visit any of the places described in the evidence, and you must not read nor listen to any reports about the case. You must not discuss the case with any person, and you must not speak with the attorneys, the witnesses, or the defendant about any subject until your deliberations are completed. Now, in every criminal proceeding, a defendant has the absolute right to remain silent. In no time is it the duty of the defendant to prove his innocence. From the exercise of the defendant's right to remain silent, you are not permitted to draw any inference of guilt, and the fact that the defendant did not take the witness stand must not influence your verdict in any manner whatsoever. Now, the attorneys are trained in the rules of evidence and trial procedure. It's their duty to make all objections to the field proper. When an objection is made, you should not speculate on the reason why it is made. Likewise, when an objection is sustained or held by me, You must not speculate on what might have occurred had the objection not been sustained, nor what a witness might have said had he or she been permitted to answer. That during the course of the trial, it may become necessary for me to confer with the state of the defense out of your hearing, discussing matters of law and other matters that require consideration by me alone. It's impossible for me to predict when such a conference might occur, but when it does, I will conduct it so as to consume as little of your time as possible for a fair and orderly trial. It's now time to listen to the opening statements. The attorney for the state will proceed first.
Thank you, Your Honor. February 22nd, 2005. Key date for the victim. The defendant entered through a door that was unlocked. Marjorie Malone was in her house, present on that day, February 22nd, 2005, at approximately 12 o'clock that day. You'll hear this testimony. You'll hear this testimony from Marjorie Malone. She was in her house, left the door unlocked, and the defendant proceeded to open the door, which was unlocked, proceeded to confront the victim, Marjorie Malone. Marjorie Malone was scared. She was nervous. You don't have to take it from me. Just look at her up on the stand. You'll see her. Look at her. Listen to everything she has to say. Carefully listen to every word she has to say. Defendant just looked at her. She was scared, petrified, didn't know what to do. Told her to leave the house. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. She didn't know what to do. A single lady. One house. Nobody else in the house. And the defendant had just walked through the door. She screams. She cries. He leaves. He leaves. She doesn't know what to do. She goes and searches for help. She exits her residence and goes next door. And when she approaches next door, she knocks on the door. Help! Help! She's just looking for somebody to help her. Somebody to get attention. But nobody helped her. The defendant saw her. The defendant saw her on that door, knocked. And it was at that point that the defendant approached the victim, Marjorie Malone, proceeded to grab her by the hair and hit her right across the back. One good punch, right in the back. Marjorie Malone. That'll be the testimony that you have to hear today. Now, state's also going to put on the officer, Officer Amanda Correct. At that point in her career, she was just starting out. She was back up to another officer. And during these duties, it was one of her first calls out. And she approaches the house. And you didn't hear the testimony. Excuse me. You didn't hear the testimony. You didn't hear the testimony of Officer Correct. How she was dispatched. How she witnessed the defendant on that day. How she witnessed everything. She didn't witness it. She didn't see it with her own eyes. But when she saw her crying. She saw her shaking up. The victim had just stated that she was hit in the back. And she had back pains. That she was taken to the hospital. You hear that from both of them. Nothing. Don't take it from me. They're going to get right up there and just tell you, both of them. Both of them are going to tell you the exact same thing. Now, the defense may point to the discrepancies. Like any other story. You remember what you did last week. They may remember the critical points. Listen to Marjorie Malone's testimony. She's a victim of this case. They don't forget. They don't forget. She was struck in the back. Got her hair pulled back. Never invited him into the house. Everything started by him walking to the house. Battery. As we say in one year, in order to prove a battery. And I'm just reading what the judge will later instruct you. Defendant intentionally touched or struck the victim against his or her will. I don't think that's somebody wants to get hit across the back.
Objection, argumentative.
The court is sustained.
Trespass. Defendant willfully, having not been authorized into the conveyance into that premise. That's pretty much just a brief synopsis of what the judge will instruct you. The judge will instruct you on the laws later. You entered that apartment. You entered that apartment without being invited into it. She's gonna hear, you'll hear the evidence of the rest. That's the evidence that you'll hear from Marjorie Malone. That's the evidence that you'll also hear from Officer Khurrum. That's what they're saying there. After you hear all the evidence, and you consider everything that they have to say, and see, and feel, and listen to it, there's only one verdict you can return. And that's a guilty verdict. And nothing further.
Defense.
Everybody is probably wondering, okay, well, what must have led to this account? There has to be some story behind it. There has to be something. This case is not about battery or trespassing. This case is about a neighbor who, at all costs, wanted to prevail.
Objection, Your Honor.
The court is sustained. Mr. Just what you expect the evidence will show.
The evidence will show that on February 22nd, I woke up, left my home after the complaining witness started banging on my wall. Something she traditionally does when playing music.
But as long as it's what he expects the evidence to show. Go ahead.
Right. The evidence will also show that I got dressed, left my house, and went downstairs to a neighbor. The evidence will show I knocked on the door of this neighbor and asked her to come with me to the complaining witness's side of the building to tell the complaining witness that I wasn't playing any music. Because she was probably, I had heard music coming from an apartment and I thought it was hers. The downstairs neighbor was on the telephone. The evidence will show at that point I left the view of the downstairs neighbor for maybe 30 seconds to a minute and I returned. The evidence will show Marjorie Malone followed me. The evidence will show she had no injuries at that point, at least, because this story has evolved from day one. The evidence will also show that we engaged in a shouting match in full view of another neighbor. This event took place over the course of several minutes, where this neighbor was an unbiased witness to this entire event. She has no reason to take my side of the story.
The court will sustain that part of his argument, Mr. Kapoor. Just tell the jury what you expect the evidence to show.
The evidence will show the police were dispatched to the scene. Police went and questioned this neighbor. The neighbor told them exactly what happened, which was nothing, but I was still arrested. Now, this neighbor's testimony has not changed from day one, from the moment she was questioned by police to today. There's no change in it. The evidence will also show I had no interaction with this individual prior to this event, neither myself or the complaining witness. She was a totally third party to this whole incident.
Objection, argument, once again.
What you expect the evidence to show.
Now, what would cause a neighbor to, out of the blue, say, hey, you know what? This is a good way to stick it to somebody.
Objection, Your
The
Honor.
court
We
will
go sidebar.
sustain. This is now argument, Mr. Kapoor. You can only tell an opening statement what you expect the evidence to show. That's it, nothing else.
The evidence will show that Marjorie Malone had no injuries. She will testify that she's incapacitated, unable to do anything anymore. But the evidence will show on that day she had no injuries, no bruises, no fractures, nothing. The evidence will show she wears a wig. But today, you will see her not wearing a wig. The evidence will also show that she stated the attack happened in her home, and later changed the story to say it happened in front of my home. And I guess what it all comes down to is this: what is the motivation? The evidence will show that she has retained an attorney, a personal injury attorney, and is
Objection on
The
relevance,
court
are you
will
managing?
sustain.
Marjorie Malone is a great source of trouble in the community. She has been involved in numerous altercations with other residents. The evidence will show that I've never been involved.
Objection on relevance, are you managing?
The court will sustain as to
It's straight.
your history, Mr.
You will hear from some witnesses that are police officers, or at least one witness that is a police officer. But they weren't there. They arrived after. And you will hear testimony that the accuser was distraught, crying, upset, shaken. But they were not at the scene when it happened. The police officers were not there when the altercation went down. Nothing further.
Can the state please call its first witness?
The state would call the victim Marjorie Malone.
Ma'am, please remain standing. Please remain standing.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear from the testimony should be in this case the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you?
Yes.
Please have a seat. State your full name, spelling your last name for the record, please.
My name is Marjorie Esther Malone, last name Malone.
Ms. Malone, what is your occupation?
I'm a counselor.
Counselor with evidence.
I do home counseling on the phone.
So you're mainly always at, where would you do this work?
At home.
Would you say that how much time do you spend at home?
All the time. I'm always at home.
Okay. Were you home on the day of February 22nd, 2005?
Yes.
What were you doing on that day?
I had went to walk the dogs, and I had just came back to my apartment.
You had just come back to your apartment. What do you mean you had just come back to your apartment?
Because I usually would take my dogs out from time to time, because when I'm home, I have two dogs, two little dogs. And when I would do my work on the phone and then take a break and take the dogs out for, 10 minutes and then come back to the apartment.
Where is this apartment located?
What's
Can you tell us the address of where you live?
Northwest 88th Avenue, number 2, Florida.
Did there come a point in time when you came to know an individual by the name of Jones?
Yes.
How do you know Mr. Jones?
I knew, I couldn't really pronounce the name that well. I knew him, I didn't really know him. I knew him because he was causing a disturbance.
Objection.
The court is sustained. You may want to rephrase it, Mr. Hassan.
How do you know Mr.
I didn't really know him, you know, I just knew him because he was next door. He was living next door, but I didn't know who he was.
When you say next door, he's a neighbor or what?
Well, he just moved into the residence, and he was not screened by the board of directors.
Well, without getting into that, where exactly is his apartment located? Is it situated to yours?
It's right next to mine.
It's right next to yours.
Yes,
Would it be door to door, or is there a wall barrier in between, or?
There's a wall barrier between.
There's a wall barrier between where you live and where he lives?
Yes.
Do they connect at any point?
There's a wall barrier, it's very hollow, it's not that strong a wall, it's, you know, in a
Right,
condo.
Is there a door?
Not between his house and mine, there's a wall.
Okay. Well, all this occurred in Broward County, Florida, correct?
Yes,
And Mr. is present today.
yes, he is.
Can you describe an article of clothing that he's wearing and point to him today in the courtroom?
Okay, he's right there, he's wearing it's like a checker tie and a gray shirt.
That the record reflected the witness that identified the defendant?
This is the record is so reflect. You may proceed.
So, going back to February 2005, you were walking your dogs, you
Yeah.
came back home.
Yeah.
What happened next?
When I came up to the apartment, there was two things that happened that day. I had left the house prior, and then I came to the apartment, and then I walked the dogs.
Okay.
So it was between coming back to the apartment I know I had the dogs with me.
You had
And
the
I
dog?
came to the apartment, yes.
Were these dogs with you inside the apartment?
Yes, they were.
What's the size of these dogs?
They're little, small little dogs, Pekingese.
Little dogs.
Yeah, Pekingese too.
Okay. Taking you to time roughly around 1:30 on that evening, what proceeded to happen next?
Well, I had picked up the phone because I had just came through the door and I wasn't sure that I had locked it or not. I may have just closed the door because we have when we come into our house, all the condos, there's like a porch area and then there's a door to go inside the main house. So if you can be outside on the porch area and then the house it's almost like you won't know what's going on in the front porch.
I know you said it was an apartment. Is it a 2-floor building? How many floors?
It's a 2-floor.
And where would you live?
I'm on the top floor.
You're on the second floor.
Yes,
Now, when you say a screen area to go in, that would mean it's a double door?
Yes, it's
There's an empire outside?
Right, first you go through the first door, and then you go through a second door to get into the main house.
How large is that area on the bottom?
The first part,
Right.
the first, I'm not sure how big it is, but it's pretty big. It's like it's a closed-in balcony. It's like a closed-in balcony. I have hurricane shutters, and they were down that day.
Is it the size of that table? Is it larger than that table, like 2 of those tables, or?
I can show you what it looks like if I can see or draw it, or because it's hard to explain it.
When you get there.
Now, do you want me to draw the whole building, or you want me
No, if you can just draw me the entrance as far as what I was asking prior to.
Well, he will be over in this way. He will be over here, and I will be here. So. This will be the wall that divides us, and then he has windows instead of shutters. He have windows instead of shutters. I have shutters.
Okay.
Now,
Now what's just right here? What's right here?
This is the this is the entrance to get to the apartment.
Okay,
So there will be stairs going up here.
in that area.
Right, and there's another apartment that's on my side, and,
One that faces yours.
right.
Okay, as far as this area here, directly related by the stairwell, how large is this area? Approximately how large is that area right there?
And there's like some stairs, and it goes up to the door right there. That'd be my door.
Where is the initial door, the one that you say is the screen door? Where is that door?
This, you could go to this door,
Okay,
and the screen is here. So this is a blind spot. You
Okay.
can't- If you have the shutters down, no one can see in.
okay,
Now, this is the outside of the house.
okay.
And then the inside is like a porch. The buildings were built in 1974. They built them big, so they built the porch first,
Okay.
and then
Is there anything screened off here, or is it just a direct passageway up to the?
you have to go up first and then make a turn and then go.
Okay. Let me show you this work on State's Exhibit A. It's already picture, for identification purposes only. Do you recognize this?
Yes, that's more like what it is.
What is it?
This is where I live, right here.
Okay. And is that the area where you live?
Yes, I live here.
Does that clearly and accurately reflect where you lived at the time of February
Yes,
22nd,
and
2005?
all my shutters were closed.
All your shutters were
Yeah.
closed? So you can enter State's Exhibit A. State's
Any
Exhibit 1.
objections?
No objections.
Okay, it'll be state number 1. You can show us Ferrari too, it's good. And we can proceed with the question of Mr. Hassan.
When you entered the house, you were with the dogs. You had entered your house. Was the door locked, unlocked?
When I came through the door, I must have left it unlocked.
Okay.
It was closed, but it was unlocked.
Okay.
I didn't remember whether or not I locked it or not, but now when I thought about it, I did leave it unlocked. So if you leave it unlocked, someone can come in.
So you were inside your house at this point?
I was inside my house.
And what proceeded to happen next?
I
What happened next?
I was on the phone, and then I had hanged up the phone because when I came to the house, someone was calling me, and I was talking to them, and then I hanged up the phone.
Okay.
And
After you hung up the phone?
when I hung up the phone, I saw him standing there in the hallway.
You saw who standing there?
That would be him,
The
the
defendant.
defendant. The defendant.
And where was he exactly situated?
He was right in the entrance, in the hallway. There's a little hallway that connects one of the rooms on the right, and then there's a bathroom on the, this will be on the left-hand side. I was on the left.
So it was inside the house?
Yes,
Objection, lady.
The court is sustained, you can rephrase.
So where was this exactly?
you want me to drive again?
No, we're not drawing. My question is,
Okay, this is where he was, in between this spot. I was over this way. You can see the person in the bedroom from where if you're standing here in the hallway. If you look on the left-hand side, you can see someone inside the bedroom. I was in the bedroom. I usually work in that bedroom.
where was Mr. located?
He was in the entrance, in the hallway, right here, in between these, this is like the hallway. He was in between here, watching.
What hallway is that? Where is that hallway located?
It's right, when you come through when you come to the porch,
Okay.
okay? You come in the door, and then around the corner, like, you know, a few steps,
Okay.
and it's right, you know, you can see the whole house from there, actually.
Is that area part of your house?
Excuse me?
Is that area part of your
Yes,
apartment?
it is, yes, it is.
At any point, did you invite, was Mr. invited to the house that day?
Never. I never invited him into my house.
You've never invited Mr.
No.
Okay. And then what proceeded to happen? Did you see, when he was there present, what occurred next?
I asked him what was he doing in my house. And he stated something about why am I suing him, and he also stated that in my letters he was not there on some of the days that I said he was in the letters. He was saying something I didn't really understand what he was saying, and I was just kind of frustrated because I was telling him to get out my house, because I was surprised that he came into my house.
Okay, and then what occurred next? Was there anything said at that point?
Well, I did have something, where he was facing, there's like a, where he was facing, this was, just in front, there was like a glass door. Behind that door.
Was there anything said?
Huh?
Was there anything said? Did you tell Mr. anything on that day?
I told him to get out.
You told him to
Get out my apartment.
And then what proceeded to happen then?
After that, he just stood there for a while looking at me. He didn't leave right away. He stayed there for a while. And
did he say anything to you at that point?
yes, he was talking about me suing him and about how he wasn't there on some of the dates that I had in the letter, you know, and that type of thing. He was mumbling that.
What proceeded to happen after that?
When he finally left, he opened the door and then he went out, and then he went out the other door. And I couldn't, because I'm on the top floor, I couldn't see where he went. But
You
I know.
couldn't see where he went?
No, but I know he had left the apartment.
And what happened? What did you do at this point?
At that point, I was very upset, and I was thinking maybe I can go downstairs, because if I look through my, you know, my balcony, the shutters, I can see out, but they can't see in through the hurricane shutters. And I looked and I saw my neighbor's car. It was parked next to his.
Okay.
And I figured that I could go down there and she can help me, because I don't know what had happened. I was upset. And I was thinking that she would help me, you know, or she had seen him come up, you know, or something. You know, I wasn't thinking straight at the time. I was, you know, upset and frustrated.
So what did you proceed to do next? Did you search help or what?
Yeah, so I went downstairs and over to underneath where she is.
What's the distance in between where she is? Where was she?
In the picture, I can show you where it is.
The same picture which was
Yes.
right before? Where is she?
Okay, I would have to leave my apartment, I live here. Go down, I walked across here, and this is where she lives. She lives also, she had the glass windows. She lives right here.
So did you exit you exited your apartment?
Yes. At the time, yes, when I went there, then
And what did you go do there?
I tried to knock on her door so she can help me.
And what happened at this point?
Well, she didn't open the door. She was inside the door, and she was stating something about she don't want to.
Objection, hearsay.
The court will sustain as to what the neighbor said.
Oh, she said that,
Well,
And
you know,
you can't tell me
you
what the
can't.
neighbor said of the jury.
Well, at that point, after you had already spoke, after you had had a brief conversation with her, or whatever was stated at that point, what proceeded to happen next?
Well, after she didn't open the door, I saw him. If you show me that picture again, I can tell you where I saw him coming from. Because that picture shows everything. Okay, he was parked in front here.
Okay.
And I didn't realize he was in his car. And he came out of his car and approached me right there.
Were you facing the door? Where were you facing?
I was facing her door. I was still trying to talk to her, but she won't open the door.
Where did you see him coming? Where did you see him coming from anywhere, or where?
I saw him coming from this area.
Okay.
That would be straight in front of the house, in front of her apartment.
Okay.
So he was here. His car was parked here.
Okay. And what proceeded to happen at that point when you saw him?
At that point, he started to say that I'm going to kill you and your dogs if you don't stop writing letters and telling people that I'm disturbing them.
At that point, what happened after the statements were said?
Then after that, he pulled my hair. He was in the back of me at that point, and he pulled my hair in the back.
How?
And I went back when he pulled it.
Okay.
He was in back of me. I don't know whether or not she was still in that area. I believe she had left and went inside.
Okay.
And
where were you positioned? Where were you standing at this point? Were you facing the door? Or?
I was still facing the door because I was trapped between here. I couldn't go this way because he was there. And I was trying to go back this way, but at that time he had already approached me from this right here.
Okay.
So I was kind of stuck there. I was
Right.
stuck in this little area right here.
And that area, about how large would that area be?
It's not very big. It's just for people to go upstairs to, to their apartments. So we were
And-
very close together.
And as you turn your face away from him, what proceeded to occur next?
Well, I didn't, actually, I was still turning towards the door.
Right.
And that's when he pulled me, pulled my hair from the back. And then he hit me from the back as well.
Where exactly did he hit you?
That would be like in this area, in the back.
In the lower area and the upper area?
Right. That area.
Like in the top part of your back, or
Yes,
lower part of your back?
with his right hand.
Objection, leading.
Put forth sustained.
After that, after he had struck you, what did you do next?
Well, it happened so fast that I was thinking whether or not I should try to ring her again. And then he went upstairs. After he did that, he went upstairs to his place. So at that point, I felt kind of bad because she had turned me down before. She didn't open the door. So when he hit me, I kind of, I didn't fall, but I kind of stumbled a little bit. But I was thinking that maybe he had went upstairs to get a weapon or something. I wasn't sure what he was up to.
What?
So I went back to my apartment. I walked.
When you say he went upstairs, what exactly is upstairs?
His apartment is right here. His apartment is right upstairs. So we were down on the bottom floor. This is where she is. She is right here.
Okay.
He went up the stairs, and he went, I didn't know where he went, because if I'm down here, I can't see what's going on up there. So I thought that he had went up to get a weapon because of the attack. So I went back, and slowly back to my apartment, because I was the only other person around that area at the time. So I went back up to my apartment, and I called the police right away.
And how long after this did the police arrive?
It took them about, I don't know for sure, maybe 10 minutes or 15, I don't know for sure.
Do you recall who exactly arrived?
There was a lot of police officers. I didn't know them by names. There was a lot of them that were there. There were several.
No further questions this February.
Call.
How long have you been a resident at?
I've been there for 10 years, would be, this month makes 10 years.
10 years. Now, do you normally leave your door open?
The door was closed, it was unlocked.
It was unlocked though?
I don't
Is
usually
that
leave
a
it
normal
open.
course of behavior for you?
I don't usually leave it open intentionally.
Now, you said you were on the telephone
Yes,
at the time you noticed the defendant in your home.
yes, I saw you in the house.
And you said that you had entered your home because the phone was ringing. Is that correct?
It did ring and I was finished with the conversation when I saw you.
You were finished with the conversation?
Yes,
Do you remember taking a deposition on January 11th, 2006?
yes, I did, yes.
And you were sworn to oath in that deposition?
Yes, I did.
And you understand
Yes, I did.
that means you have to tell the truth?
Yes,
I
I
understand.
have to take a tell you.
Okay. Isn't it true that in your deposition, you stated that you were on the phone at the time you noticed me in your house?
In the deposition, I stated that I was on the phone. Then, after the phone call, then I noticed you were there.
Right, but
I had already hanged up the phone and then noticed you. I was distracted.
do you remember who was calling you?
I don't remember who I was talking to. I have people that I speak to, different people I speak to on the phone. I didn't remember which one I was speaking to.
Well, now this event was a significant event in your life. I mean, you do remember the events of that day.
I remember you more than the person on the phone.
Okay. What do you do for a living?
I'm a counselor.
What kind of counseling do you
I
provide?
counsel people on the phone.
Do you have a license to provide counseling?
Objection on irrelevance.
The court is sustained.
How far have you completed as far as your education? How far have you gone so far?
Objection on irrelevance once again.
I'll allow the question.
I did high school and I did training in counseling.
Did you graduate from high school?
I graduated, no I didn't.
Okay. And you provide mental health counseling?
I
Where do you advertise your services? How about that?
I do counseling.
Objection on irrelevance.
Well, of course, gonna sustain as to where she advertises her services.
Marjorie Malone, if somebody were to call you and ask you for a reading, do you understand what that means?
The company that I work for advertises. I don't advertise personally.
What do they advertise? Are you a telephone psychic?
I know of the company, yes.
Is that the nature of the counseling that you do?
It's
Objection on irrelevance and a free legal sidebar.
Are you a telephone psychic, yes or no?
I've done it in the past, yes.
Is that what you were doing on the day of this altercation?
No, I was not. I was talking to I was counseling someone on the phone. I wasn't given a reading.
Okay. So, you noticed the defendant in your home. You had just hung up the phone? Is that what it is? Or you were on the phone and then hung it up as you saw him? Just to clarify. For the
I had
audience.
just finished the conversation.
So you hung up the phone, you don't remember who the person was that was calling you,
No, I did not.
and the defendant disappeared miraculously in your home.
I didn't understand what you just asked.
The defendant just appeared out of nowhere in your house.
You had to come inside the porch and then into the house.
Yes, that's obvious, but that's the nature of the events on that day. You were surprised.
When I looked up, I saw you there.
Right. How long did this event last, that he was inside of your home?
I saw you in the apartment. I don't know exactly how long you stood in there. It was a while. You were standing there and you were telling me that why was I suing you, and also you were not there on the days that I had in my letter.
What letter are you referring to?
The letters that I sent to the association complaining about you.
Was there more than one letter?
Yes, there was.
How many?
I don't remember how many. I sent a lot of letters.
Did you ever have any attorneys send letters on your behalf?
I had a friend who helped me out because you won't stop playing the music loud, and I tried to get the association to help me and they did not help me. So I was trying to get someone to help me, and he did send a letter. He told me he did.
He did. And so the defendant was in your house and he's wailing about these letters, and you're in the little bedroom office area, correct?
Well, it is a bedroom. I just happened to work in there.
And you had the phone in your hand because you had just put it down, you just hung it up, right?
Yes, I saw you at that point.
Why don't you pick up the phone and call the police?
I did not call the police.
Why?
Because I didn't know if you would attack me at that point.
So you were in fear of your life?
Yes,
You were terrified. The stranger's in your house.
yes,
He's screaming at you. Right?
yes.
So, and this goes on for some period of time, several minutes, you said?
It was a period of time you were there, and I was stunned. I didn't know what to do.
Well, when the defendant was, talking about letters and whatnot, what did you tell him?
I told you to get out my house. I told you, why are you in my house? I told you to get out.
Right. And you were saying this for many minutes. This was going on. Get out of my house, get out of my house, get out of my house for several minutes, right?
Yes, you shocked me. I was there.
Right. And then what happened?
Excuse me. Can I get a...
Some water?
Yes, something.
There's some water there, let's see.
Just a minute.
You ready to proceed?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
So you were terrified.
Yes, I was.
This guy came in your house and held you hostage for just a number of minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, correct?
You were there watching me. You were there and you knew that you were trying to intimidate me.
Well, invading somebody's home is that's an extreme form of intimidation. Would
You, at this point, can only ask questions, you cannot make statements.
Well, I was getting to that. Wouldn't you consider a person invading your home an extreme form of intimidation in and of itself, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, what led to the defendant leaving your home?
I don't know why you left, but I keep telling you to leave. I just stood there and I was upset that you were even in my house. You invaded my privacy. That is a violation of my privacy. I'm a woman, I was single, living alone in the apartment. You could have done anything to me in there.
Objection, non-responsive.
Your Honor, she answering his question.
Yes, she's answering your question.
Now, do you have a weapon?
At the time, I did have a machete, yes.
Machete?
Yes.
Is that what you use for personal protection in your home?
That's all I had. Where you were standing was the mirror, it was behind the mirror where you were standing.
Right, and.
And I couldn't get to it because you were there.
But if you could get to it, you would have likely hacked me to death.
I would have defended myself if you
Right.
had tried.
So, I was in between you and this weapon.
Yes,
You were in fear of your life.
yes.
You were being held hostage in your home for an unknown amount of time, several minutes. And this traumatic event, this was a traumatic thing at the time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So, the defendant inexplicably leaves your house,
You left because I kept telling you to leave.
and you immediately went, locked the door, and called the police, correct?
I don't remember if I locked the door, but I went downstairs.
You don't remember if you locked the door, well, if you left the apartment, you obviously didn't lock the door, is that correct? You had
Yes,
to unlock the door to leave the house, correct?
I shut the door.
Okay, you shut the door, you locked it, you ran inside and picked up the phone right then and called the police?
I didn't call the police at that point
Why not?
because you had already left and you went outside.
Does that change what happened?
No, it does not. But I was trying to seek help.
Who would
But-
be in the best situation to help you?
If I
In a
called the
situation
police,
like
if I called the police, they would not get there in the time, in the time it would have taken for you to do something to me. So I
Well,
was
you-
trying to get
You had
someone.
already locked the door, it's your testimony here, right?
I went outside the door and I went to get help.
Did you not just say that you locked the door?
I didn't, I don't remember if I locked it or.
That's an answer.
No, you can answer the question. Objections overruled.
I shut the door and I went downstairs to try to get help.
Okay. So, what kind of help were you expecting to receive from the community at that point, from any other member of the community?
I figured somebody had saw you come out and they would have seen something. They would have seen something. I was trying to get someone maybe to stay with me.
To stay with you?
Yes,
Provide what, emotional support or something, while you went and called the police?
after you left, I thought you were gone.
Right, so you,
I didn't see that you went into your car. I thought you had left. That's why I went down to get help.
well, when the defendant left, immediately after he left, what did you do within the very first seconds that he left your home?
When you left the house, I waited until you left. Then I went downstairs to see if I could get help from the neighbor.
So then you followed the defendant. If you left immediately after he left, you're pretty much right behind him, correct?
I was not behind you. You had already left.
Right, but your testimony here today, just a minute ago, was that you left your home immediately after I left. Is there any, let me put it this way. Did any time elapse after the defendant left your home before you left your home?
I waited until you left my house,
Right.
and that's when I went to get help.
Did any time elapse in the time period when the defendant left your home to the time when you left your home?
No time lapsed. It
So-
happened quickly. You left the house. After I knew that you were out of my house, I went to get help.
So no time elapsed. That's your testimony here today.
When you say lapsed, what do you mean lapsed?
Elapsed.
You mean if I went to do something else after you left? Or that I just waited for you to leave? That's what I did. I waited for you to leave, and then I went downstairs to the neighbor.
Right. Okay. So you said that you saw the defendant leave and you didn't know where he went.
I didn't know where you went.
but you had left the house immediately after he left, so you were pretty much right behind him, and you still didn't know where he went. He just pulled a magical disappearing act.
I didn't know where he went.
Okay. And what happened next? You left the house and there was nobody around. Did you see any neighbors around?
No, I did not.
You did not see any neighbors around?
I had to go to her door and knock on her door, and then she came to the door.
She wasn't standing outside?
No, she did
At that
not.
point?
No, she did not.
Okay.
She was, these windows, you can see everything through your window. You can stay inside the house and see what's going on. She must have seen me come across there towards her door.
Well, okay, let me ask you this, because I'm a little confused. How did you even know she was home? To go
Because
and knock
I
on
saw
the door?
her car there in
How
front.
many cars does she have?
I believe they have 2 cars. They have a van and a regular car.
If I told you they have 3 cars, would it be
I
possible?
would not know that.
Objection, Your Honor, testimony.
The court will sustain.
Well, and you noticed all their cars there on that day?
I noticed the van was there.
And how would that be indicative of a neighbor being home?
I just took a chance that she might have been home because the van was there.
Okay. So this neighbor, did you know her prior to this event?
I know of her, I didn't know her personally.
How do you know of her?
Because one day she came to my house and she was asking me to help her with something.
Okay. And what was she asking you to help her with?
She said that her son, his blanket was ripped, and she had heard that I sewed.
Oh, okay. And you sewed her blanket for her?
Right.
So you did a nice thing for her.
Yes, I did.
Did you ever, at any point, either in the deposition or at any other time, refer to her as a friend?
No.
Did you ever say that you thought she was one of your friends?
Objection, Your Honor,
No.
testimony, and relevance.
The court is sustained.
Would this individual have any reason to tell a story different than what you just told here today?
Like I said before, I
Objection, Your Honor,
thought she was.
speculation. Speculating as to some other individual's testimony.
Well, the court is sustained since I don't have any other testimony at this point.
So, okay, you left your home, the defendant was nowhere in sight, and
I did not see you. I did not see you that you were in the car because your car was tinted.
well,
Windows.
may I approach?
Yeah. I have one.
Okay. Where was my car parked on that picture?
It was parked in the front. Where
It would
these,
be right here, as a matter of fact, one second, let me do something. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the front of the residence where you claim to be assaulted?
I was assaulted right here in the front.
Is this also a fair and accurate representation of the front of the apartment?
Yes.
So you knocked on the neighbor's front door, and she wouldn't answer your call.
She was talking to me through the door.
What was she saying?
I asked her if she saw
Objection,
any.
hearsay testimony.
The court will sustain as to what the neighbor said.
What did you tell her?
I asked her, did she see anything? I asked her a question, did she see anything?
But she wouldn't come out of the house,
No, she did not.
and you just stayed standing there,
She said she didn't want to get involved.
and you testified that you turned and you saw the defendant in his car for the first time.
At that point, everything happened quickly. I saw you coming towards me from your car.
Well, Now, the front of the car is facing the area where you were standing, isn't that correct?
You had to pass me in order to get back upstairs.
The front of the car is facing the area where you were standing, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
You could see through the windshield,
I
correct?
could not see that you were there at the time. I was talking to her.
Did you have a vantage point to be able to look through the windshield?
The car looked like it was tinted. I didn't see you at the time there.
Tinted windshield? Who tints their windshield? Strike that. All right, so you didn't notice the defendant sitting in his car, is what you said?
I didn't notice you at the time.
Sitting in his car or whatever?
No, I did not.
And what happened then? The defendant came out of the car and you were just awestruck, you were surprised.
I was surprised to see that you were there.
Okay, and then,
I had thought you had already went back upstairs to your house.
okay, and that being that you followed me right out of your home and I managed to.
I didn't follow you anyway.
Well, how was it that I would be able to walk all the way into my house?
I was standing there. I was standing here. You had to pass me from behind to go upstairs.
Right. And you had your back to me?
Yes, I did.
And at that point, I pulled your hair. Well, what happened first? Did I punch you in the back first, or did I pull your hair first?
You pulled my hair first.
You were awake?
At the time, I did not have a wig.
Do you wear a wig?
Yes, I do. But at the time, I did not have one.
You didn't have one on that day?
My hair was weaved. And it
You
was
did not have a
sewn in.
wig on the day?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
That part was sustained.
Okay. When was the last time you wore a wig?
Since the
Objection
in-
on irrelevance.
The
That
court
goes
will
to the-
sustain as to that question, you can rephrase.
Well, I noticed that you're not wearing a wig today.
Since the incident happened, I've worn a wig. I
Right.
have not worn the weave because you pull the hair so hard when it's sewn in. If you know about weaves, if it's sewn in, you can pull the person hair out.
I understand that, that's not what I asked you. Are you wearing a wig here today?
Yes, I
Objection
am.
on irrelevance.
The court is sustained.
Okay. Anyway, so your head snapped back, and then you were struck in the back. And describe the pain. How did you feel? And what was it like?
I felt like I was hit
Mm-hmm.
and I was struck hard, like someone hit me real hard.
Did it feel like you got hit by a car?
Yes, but I don't know. I've had some. I just feel like it was a very hard blow.
Certainly hard enough to cause a bruise,
Yes,
and probably a lot more.
you hit me.
Objection on testimonial.
Excuse me,
Testimonial. The counsel is testifying.
the court is sustained.
You sustained an injury as a result of this event. Is this correct?
I had swelling on my back.
And that would be shown in the medical report. Have you ever obtained a copy of the medical report in this case?
I had. I don't remember if I have the report. I just had the time in which I went to the hospital. I was supposed to order the copy of the.
Have you ever obtained a copy of your medical report from Florida Medical Center with regards to this case? Yes or no?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you ever receive a bill from Florida Medical Center?
Yes, I did.
How did you receive this bill?
In the mail, I got the mail.
In the mail. When you were taken in by the hospital, when they took you that day, did you give them an address?
Yes, I did.
What address did you give?
Northwest 88th Avenue, number 2, Florida.
Okay. And, were you ever sued by a hospital before?
Objection, Your Honor, outside
The
this
court will
deliberative relevance.
sustain.
Okay. You did not provide the address of 5900 North Pine Isle Road when you were taken in by the medical team? that
No,
day?
I did not.
You did not?
No.
You did not tell them your apartment was number 26?
No, I did not.
And if that was in the medical report, that would be a mistake?
I gave them the address that I was at, and the address that I was picked up had the address on the building.
When the police arrived on the scene, did you give them an account of this altercation?
Yes, I told them what happened.
Did you ever tell them that you were attacked in the vicinity of your house or within your home? Yes or no?
You did not attack me inside my apartment.
That's not what I asked you. Did you tell the police when they arrived on the scene that you were attacked in the vicinity of your home or inside your home? Yes or no?
In the vicinity would be outside or the inside.
You never told the police that you were attacked in a hallway inside your home?
I was attacked where I showed here, right here. This is where I was attacked, right here.
That's not what I asked you. I'm asking you.
I don't
what did you
understand
tell-
your question.
Okay. You called the police and they sent 3 cars. You spoke to several officers on that day, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Did you speak to a female officer on that day?
I spoke to a female and a male.
And when you told the police your account of this event, isn't it true that you told them that I attacked you when you were leaving your residence?
I was attacked this area. I did not tell them where I was not attacked. I told them where I was attacked.
Have you ever been convicted of crime?
Objection, Your Honor.
The court will sustain.
No, I have not.
The court's already sustained, that means you don't have to answer, Ms. Malone.
Can I have a sidebar?
Yeah.
Have you retained a personal injury attorney as a result of this incident?
Yes, I have.
And are you planning on suing the defendant?
I suffered medical and emotional stress because of this. I don't know what course he's gonna take with that.
Who?
The attorney that I hired.
Isn't it true that he's already contacted the homeowners association about suing them?
Yes, there was a letter sent to the association.
The insurance carrier association, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
The court will sustain. Mr. When you asked the question, she answered, and that is as far as you can go with it.
I understand, Your Honor. I apologize. Have you ever tried to get the defendant evicted from his home?
I complained to the board of directors. I was on the board of directors at the time.
Okay.
And there was a vote to evict evict you.
There was a vote to evict me?
Yes,
Well, okay, you were a member of the board of directors, correct?
yes, I was.
And there was some question as to the validity of the resident, his right to live there because he had not been screened. Is that correct?
Everybody has to be screened when they move in.
Right, so when you realized that the defendant was living there and he had not been screened, you had wrote letters to get him screened, correct?
Yes, I did write letters to have you screened.
Okay, was he subsequently screened?
Objection on irrelevance.
The court will sustain.
I still live there, right?
Yes, you live there. You live at the condominiums.
Right, still live there. So if I had been rejected, I would not be able to live there. Is that correct?
You still
Objection on
live there.
irrelevance.
The court will sustain.
Okay. What mechanism by which did you feel the defendant needed to be evicted from his home? What was your
Objection.
grounds for
Object to
that?
line of testimony.
Ms. Seymour, could you take the jury to the jury room, please?
Yes, ma'am. Jurors, if you have a cell phone, I need you to take it out and place it on this table right here before you enter the jury room.
Mr. I've given you a lot of leeway here, but I am at my wit's end. This is not a trial about everything that has happened at that condominium since you moved in, nor is it a trial about everything that's happened between you and Miss Malone since you moved in. We are here on a battery and the circumstances surrounding a battery and a trespass that allegedly occurred on February 22nd, 2005. This is not going to be a fishing expedition for when you got sued, whether or not you got me evicted or anything else of that nature. And you had Miss Malone there on that witness stand for the better part of an hour. Now, it's the circumstances surrounding this incident, trespass and a battery. This incident, this eviction stuff, this whether or not I'm getting sued, you can ask her about being sued, that's fine. You can ask her if she's looking for monetary damages, that's fine. But beyond that, you can't go on a fishing expedition that appears to be a defense for the civil case, should it ever arise. This is a criminal case. One count of trespass, one count of battery, which allegedly occurred on February 22nd, 2005. And that's it. Bring the jury back.
Your Honor.
Yes?
Yes, I'd like to address this one thing, but I'd like to do it inside, outside the presence of
Fine.
the witness.
Okay, you may be seated, and Mr. You may proceed.
Marjorie Malone, have you ever been convicted of a crime involving deception?
No, I have not.
Permission to approach.
You may approach.
Okay, look at this. Are you denying that that's you?
Which part are you talking about?
Do you recall this case here, theft to deprive?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember it as in it never happened, or you just don't remember if it happened or not?
I don't remember.
Is there any redirect?
Just brief, Your Honor. A couple questions. Getting back to February 22nd, 2005, and when the defendant was present inside your house. How long between entering your house and being on the phone to seeing the defendant pass?
Yes.
How much time passed during that time period?
After I saw him,
Well, when you entered the house
right,
and when he was inside your house, how much time lapsed? How much time passed?
it was a little time and then I went to get help.
How much time? I mean, how much time between the time that you walked into your house and the time that you saw him?
I would say a few minutes,
A few minutes that passed by?
Yes.
You were inside your house for a few minutes?
yes. And then I went to get help.
Okay. How did you feel when you saw him? When you saw a defendant in your house?
I was upset when I saw him.
And after you left your house?
I was upset and I went to get help.
Before you left your house, how long of a time period before him leaving your house and you leaving your house? How much time passed in between that time period?
I would say a few minutes.
Did you race behind the defendant?
No, I did not.
After you left your house and you went to the neighbors, how long did you stand in front of the doorway of the neighbors?
I don't remember how long I stayed there. I was there, I was trying to get help from her. And when she wouldn't help me, that's when everything happened.
No further questions.
Any reprompt?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Then the witness is free to go. And I'm gonna take this opportunity to break the news. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I do need to caution you that you are not to discuss this case with anyone. You're not to speak among yourselves about the case as to what's happened so far. You're not to talk to the attorneys in this case, the defendant in this case, not the standby attorney, not anyone concerning this case. So I caution you when you go out and come back in and people are milling around outside in the hallway that you not speak with them, as they may or may not be witnesses in this case. And this is courtroom 416. The court's gonna give you, I'm gonna give you an hour for lunch. It's 10 after 1. You should be back here at 10 after 2. You're free to go until that time.
Don't get your phones.
Okay, you may be seated. Welcome back, jurors. We're now ready to proceed with the trial of the state of Florida versus your nation. Is the state ready to call its next witness?
State will call Officer Amanda Correct.
Right over here, ma'am, straight up over here. My mic, and please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
Yes, sir.
Please have a seat. State your full name, spelling your last name for the record, please.
Amanda Lee Curet, C-U-R-E-T.
Officer Correct, where do you work?
Police Department,
How long have you been employed?
approximately 2.5 years.
Were you employed on February 22nd, 2005?
Yes, sir.
What were your duties on that day?
Road Patrol Officer.
Were you a road patrol officer at that time? Or you were a road patrol officer at that time?
Yes, sir.
And at that time, did there come a time that you came in contact with an individual by the name of Mr.
Yes, sir.
How did you come in contact with him?
I was dispatched to a battery at that location.
Where were you dispatched to?
North Pine Island Road.
In Broward County, Florida?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Is he present in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe an article of clothing that he's wearing and point to?
Gray shirt,
Where is he located?
blue tie.
Does the record reflect the witness of the identified defendant?
The record is over to that.
As you were dispatched, what did you further proceed to?
I'm sorry.
What did you further proceed to do after you were dispatched?
I responded to that location and met with the victim.
And upon seeing the victim?
The victim was very upset, shaking.
You want to describe it a little more as far as what you observed?
She was crying. She stated that she was, punched and the suspect.
Objection, hearsay.
The court is sustained.
At this point, what do you further proceed to do after speaking with Ms. Malone?
Made contact with the defendant.
And at that point,
I did not make contact with him.
how did you come in contact with him then?
As we were leaving the scene, he was walking back towards his residence from across the street, and he matched the description that the victim gave us, and then the victim identified him from the rescue truck.
From the rescue truck? There was a rescue truck on scene?
Yes.
What was the point of the rescue truck being on scene?
She was being transported to Florida Medical Center. For her
Why was
injuries.
she being transported
For
there?
her injuries.
She had injuries on that day?
Yes, she was claiming injuries.
Did you see, was there anything visible?
Not that I can recall.
There was nothing referenced. There was no injuries as far as her back, head, anywhere?
Didn't say anything on it.
Objection, asked and answered. And leading.
The floor is sustained as the leading, you may refer.
Besides being angered and upset and a little bit distraught, was there any other, did you observe anything else on Miss Marjorie?
Her hair was a little messed up. She had claimed that he pulled her hair. Other than that, I didn't observe anything else.
When you made contact with the defendant, what do you further proceed to do at that point?
He was placed into custody, read his Miranda. He refused to answer any questions at that time.
Objection, Your Honor, sidebar.
Ms. Seymour.
Yes, ma'am. Jurors for jury room, please.
I'm gonna make a motion for mistrial.
State.
There's no actual basis, I mean, she's just stating that she merely placed the defendant in custody at that point.
Well, the question had to be, the question was as to Miranda, that she stated she read a Miranda and he refused to ask questions. That's the basis for the objection.
The jurors have already been stated that that he didn't have to answer to any questions at all times.
It's your call.
You can wait.
I'll waive it. I'll waive it.
Fine, we'll proceed.
Hmm?
Bring the
Yeah.
jury back.
That's fine.
Jury entering the courtroom.
You may proceed and state may proceed.
Getting back to where you approached Ms. Marjorie, do you recall where you actually came into contact with Ms. Marjorie?
I don't
With the
recall.
victim?
I don't recall.
Could
If I
each
should-
of you please speak up?
If I showed you a picture of that location, would that refresh your recollection?
Possible.
Do you remember looking at the picture, the location?
I don't know.
The individual that called you didn't see, what was that individual's name?
Marjorie Malone.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
Did you file a probable cause affidavit in this case?
I need a verbal response.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, when you arrived at the location, you made contact with the victim, correct?
Yes.
And she told you what had happened to her, correct?
Yes.
And when she told you she was attacked, did she show you?
Objection, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
No, let me hear
Did she show you the area around about where she was attacked?
I'll allow that question.
Yes.
Where did she show you she was attacked?
Right when she was coming out of her residence, between the inside of her house and outside in the hallway.
Are these photos an accurate depiction of the entrance to what would look like the entrance to a home and the floor area of her home?
Yes.
They are? I'd like to mark these as evidence.
So you can mark them for identification,
Mark for
and not
identification.
moved into evidence.
Now, these are the photos of what it would look
Objection, Your
like.
Honor.
The court will sustain, what did I tell you, Mr. about showing the photos?
Sorry.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to object to the pictures, if we may go sidebar. Just now.
So these are a fair depiction of what you encountered on that day.
Somewhere. Yes.
Would you be able to point out to me where she indicated this assault took place?
Objection, Your Honor.
And the court's going to sustain based on our sidebar.
Okay, well, it was fairly clear when you arrived on that day that you stated, or that she showed you that she was attacked in her home. It's fairly clear to you as an officer.
Yes.
Did she mention that she left to go get help from a neighbor?
Yes.
Did you go and seek out that neighbor?
Yes.
Do you remember the neighbor's name?
No.
Did she reside close by where I lived, or around the vicinity where I was
Yes.
living? Was she my downstairs neighbor?
I don't recall.
Okay. She was the neighbor that Marjorie indicated to you was present, or what information did you come upon that gave you a reason to go talk to the neighbor? How did you come to find out that this individual was somehow involved?
I don't recall.
Did Marjorie tell you, oh, that's the neighbor that saw this thing?
I don't remember exactly what she said. She must have told me if I went to her house.
Okay. And when you made contact with that neighbor, did you ask her anything?
Yes.
What did you ask her?
If she saw anything.
What did she tell you?
Objection, Your Honor,
The
hearsay.
court will sustain.
I withdraw that. After that, did you then leave that location?
Yes.
And that's when you saw the defendant coming home and he
Yes.
was placed under arrest?
Yes.
Now, you testified earlier that you didn't observe any injuries. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you do any fingerprints?
No.
What, if anything, did you do to follow up on this investigation?
I didn't know.
What's that?
No. Did I do a follow-up? Is that
Was there anything done? Were fingerprints taken? I mean,
No fingerprints weren't taken.
you know. I'm done.
Any reader,
No further questions, Your Honor.
no witnesses ready to go. Now, the state has rested its case. Will defense be calling any witnesses?
Defense closed it.
And if the interpreter just come forward while we're waiting. Do you solemnly swear and are affirmed to correct, interpret, and or translate for this court?
I do. Ingrid Taveras, Spanish interpreter.
She doesn't know where to come, she's at, we tell her where.
Mr. You may proceed.
Good afternoon.
Buenas tardes. Hi.
you state your address?
¿Me puede decir su dirección, por favor? Northwest 88 Avenue, apartment, Florida.
I'm sorry, I am the Spanish interpreter, I know she need my services.
No. So,
She speaks a little English. When-
yes, but sometimes.
Respond whichever way you feel comfortable. If you have a problem responding, you can respond in Spanish and she
Yeah,
will be here
because
to
sometimes
translate it.
I'm stuck.
Well, why don't we do this? We'll let the interpreter interpret the question,
Yes.
and then you may respond. In English or in Spanish, it doesn't matter, but let the interpreter give you the question first.
Su dirección, señora. Por favor, diga su dirección.
¿En español o en inglés?
Spanish or English?
Whichever one she wishes.
Como usted desee, señora.
Northwest 88 Avenue, apartment, Florida.
How long have you lived there?
¿Por cuánto tiempo ha vivido usted ahí?
3 years.
3 years. Prior to February 22nd, 2005, have you had any contact with either the defendant or the complaining witness?
Antes del 22 de febrero de 2005, ¿ha tenido usted algún tipo de contacto o con el acusado o con el testigo en este caso?
Como el acusado.
With the defendant or?
The accuser, the complainant, Marjorie Malone.
Señora, ¿con el acusado o la persona haciendo la demanda? La que presenta la demanda.
Sí, una vez ella me hizo un favor, como ella cose.
Yes, one time she did me a favor since she sews.
Yes, tenía una funda de almohada que estaba rota.
She had a pillowcase that was torn.
My neighbor, sorry, mi vecina me mandó a ella para que ella me podía hacer ese trabajo. Entonces yo me fui.
My neighbor told me to go to her since she sews, and I went. She said that she could do that job, so I went to her.
Yes. Yo hablé con ella y me hizo el favor de coser ese pedacito porque ella tiene máquina.
I went and spoke with her, and she did me the favor of sewing that small piece because she has a machine.
A favor because, sorry.
So,
Ella me hizo el favor porque cuando yo le pedí cuánto es, y me dijo que no, cuando es una primera vez ella no cobraba. Entonces,
So she did me the favor. I asked her how much it was, and she said no. Since it's the first time, she does not charge for the first time.
okay. Have you ever had a conversation with me prior to February 22nd, 2005?
¿Tiene usted alguna vez una conversación conmigo antes del 22 de febrero de 2005?
only good morning, hi, how are you, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
What time did you wake up that morning on February 22nd? Do you remember?
¿A qué hora se levantó esta mañana, el 22 de febrero? 2005, si usted recuerda.
¿A qué hora me levanté?
What time did you want? Did I get up?
Yeah.
Sí.
This day was my day off. I was in bed because the weather was cold. I received a phone call and I was on the phone.
And I'm going to object, it's not responsive to the question.
That point is sustained. The question
What
is
time I get up?
Señora.
Like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, like what time do you get up? Do you remember what you ate for breakfast? Do you
10
know?
o'clock.
¿Recuerda usted que comió el desayuno esa mañana?
Coffee, orange juice.
Did there come a time when the defendant knocked on your door?
Llegó un momento cuando el acusado tocó a su puerta.
Excuse me, just for clarification, could you give her names as opposed to?
Okay. Did there come a time when I knocked on your door?
Llegó un momento cuando yo toqué a su puerta.
And were you on the phone at the time that I knocked on your door?
Estaba
Objection,
en el
leading,
teléfono
Your
en el
Honor.
momento que
The
yo
court
tocó.
will sustain, you have to.
What were you doing at the time when I knocked on your door?
¿Qué estaba usted haciendo cuando yo toqué a su puerta?
Estaba en el teléfono.
I was on the telephone.
And did you tell me to hold on?
Objection, leading.
The court will sustain.
What did you tell me after I knocked on your?
Objection, leading.
No, that's what did, you can go ahead.
¿Qué me dijo usted cuando yo toqué a su puerta?
I can't speak with you because I'm busy with the phone.
Okay. Did I walk away after that?
Me fui yo, entonces me cogí y me fui después de eso.
No, he waited for a while.
And how long more or less? Can you,
Como cuánto tiempo más o menos.
a minute, 30
Un
seconds,
minuto,
2
30
minutes?
segundos. ¿Cuánto tiempo usted?
Minutes.
A minute. And after I waited a minute, then what happened? What did you see?
Después que yo esperé un minuto, ¿qué pasó luego? ¿Qué vio usted?
Yo vi que él se fue al segundo piso donde la señora.
I saw that he went up to the second floor to the ladies.
And how long did I stand on that side of the building, approximately?
¿Por cuánto tiempo me quedé yo en ese lado del edificio aproximadamente?
No fue mucho tiempo, él mismo él bajó.
It was not very long. He came right down.
Okay. After you saw me come down, did you see Marjorie Malone?
Después usted vio que yo bajé. ¿Vio usted Marjorie Malone?
Yes, she came. I was inside in my house in the laundry, and she asked me what happened.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
The court is sustained.
When I returned from that side of the building, was Marjorie behind me, following me?
Objection.
The court
Meeting.
will sustain. You need to rephrase, please.
Okay. Did you see me at any point enter my car and go into my car and sit down?
¿Me vio usted en
Objection,
algún
leading.
momento?
The court will sustain.
Okay, yeah. Well, all right. After I came down, what happened next?
Después que yo bajé, ¿qué pasó luego?
Ella vino.
She came.
She came. And were you standing, where were you standing?
¿Dónde
When
estaba
she
usted
came.
parada?
In
Cuando ella bajó.
inside my apartment in the laundry.
Is this picture refresh your memory?
¿Esta foto refresca su memoria?
Did you see, where did you see the defendant come from when you left that side?
¿Vio usted al acusado? ¿De dónde lo viste salir después que él pasó de ese lado?
You came from here.
Okay. Did you see me go inside my car?
¿Me vio usted en
No.
mi carro?
No.
Did Marjorie at some point come to you?
¿En algún momento lo vino Marjorie de
The court
usted?
is sustained.
Was Marjorie upset when you saw her?
¿Estaba Marjorie molesta cuando usted la vio?
Yes.
What did you see after both myself and Marjorie appeared?
¿Qué vio usted después que ambos, yo y Marjorie, aparecimos?
Los dos discutieron.
You both argued.
Okay. And did you see me leave?
¿Me vio usted a mí irme?
Sí.
Yes.
Did you see Marjorie leave?
¿Vio usted que Marjorie se fue?
Yes.
And did you see any attack?
¿Vio usted un ataque?
Objection, leading.
The court will sustain.
No.
No puede contestar.
Strike the witness's testimony.
Court sustain, that means she can't answer.
Cuando yo digo
You
sustain,
need to
quiere decir que usted
rephrase
no
the
puede
question.
contestar la pregunta.
How many times did you see me pull her hair or punch her?
¿Cuántas veces me
Objection,
vio usted a
leading.
mí?
Assume
the
assumes
question-
facts that a witness has not testified to.
No. That's true too. The court is sustained. You need to you need to lay a precedent.
Okay,
Excuse me, yes, thank you.
what did you do after the defendant, me, after I left and after Marjorie left?
¿Qué hizo usted después que yo, el acusado, y Marjorie nos fuimos?
Adentro, inside my house.
You went in your house?
Yes.
Was that the end of the argument?
¿Fue? ¿Fue ese el final del argumento?
Yes.
Describe any physical touching or interaction that occurred between myself and Marjorie Malone.
Describa cualquier interacción, toque físico, cualquier interacción entre Marjorie, la señora y yo.
I can't describe because we didn't touch her.
How far was I away from her?
¿A qué distancia tenía, a qué lejos estaba yo de ella? ¿A qué distancia de nosotros?
No was close.
Did you refuse to help Marjorie Malone in any way?
¿Rehusó usted ayudar?
Court will sustain,
No diga
please
nada.
rephrase.
Okay. Did you see the defendant return after he left?
¿Vio usted al acusado regresar después que se había ido? He is the defendant, correct?
Right. Did you see me after I left? Okay, how did I leave? Did I get in my car and leave? Did I walk away?
¿Me vio usted? De esa manera. ¿Cómo fui? Yo me fui mal. Me monté yo en mi carro, me fui, caminé, me fui. ¿Cómo fue que me fui?
Caminó y se fue.
Walked.
Walked
We
away.
left.
And did you see me return to the location?
¿Me vio usted regresar al lugar?
No.
Did Marjorie Malone return?
Marjorie Malone regresó.
All these questions are leading.
The court will sustain.
No diga
You have
nada.
to rephrase this.
After I left, when did you see Marjorie again?
Después que yo me fui, ¿cuándo fue que usted próximo vio a Marjorie de nuevo?
No delay.
Not this day.
Did you see, what did you see after I left? What happened? Tell the jury,
¿Qué vio
describe to the
usted?
jury what happened after I left.
Después,
Sorry, go ahead.
¿qué vio usted después que yo me fui? Dígale por favor al jurado y a los abogados, ¿qué pasó después que yo me fui?
Ella subió a su apartment
She went up to her apartment
with actitud. Hizo de que estaba muy molesta y como que rápidamente subió al segundo piso a hacer algo.
but with an attitude. She went up very upset. She made some sort of a gesture. She went upstairs very quickly to do something.
Yes, I think for to call the police.
Did the police arrive?
¿Llegó la policía?
Sí.
Did you
Yes.
see an ambulance arrive?
Yo hice una ambulancia que llegara.
Yes.
What was your reaction to seeing the ambulance?
¿Cuál fue su reacción al ver la ambulancia?
Your Honor, objection based on relevance.
What was her reaction? I guess I'll allow the question. You're talking about the witness, this reaction, correct?
Yeah.
Contesta.
I'll allow the question.
Can you finish the question again?
Yeah, like, when you saw the ambulance, what was your reaction? Like,
Sí.
what did you think?
Cuando usted vio la ambulancia, ¿cuál fue su reacción? ¿Qué pensó usted?
I was thinking it's another neighbor. Something happened to another neighbor because I don't think that something happened to her because nothing, you didn't do nothing. Tú no le hiciste nada malo a ella, no,
You didn't
no,
do anything bad to
no
her.
la golpeó, no.
You didn't hit her.
No,
No, no.
no.
Um, when Marjorie Malone came downstairs from her home, did she tell you anything?
Cuando Marjorie Malone vino abajo de su casa, ¿le dijo ella a usted algo?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
¿Qué le dijo
Hearsay,
ella?
Your Honor, objection.
Could I say counsel? Please.
Now, have you been offered anything in exchange for your testimony here today?
¿Se le ofreció a usted algo a intercambio por su testimonio aquí hoy?
No.
No.
Okay. I had to subpoena you to come in, is that correct?
Yo tuve que dar una orden judicial para venir aquí, ¿correcto?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Is he going to ask me some questions too?
Yes.
Sí, señor.
I mean, so You were in bed, correct? You said
I'm sorry, could you please repeat it again?
you were in bed when Mr. First knocked on your door.
¿Usted estaba en la cama cuando el señor primero se acercó, se toca la puerta?
Was my day off, yes.
It was my day off, yes.
And he knocked on the door and you went to the door and answered it.
Él tocó la puerta, usted fue a la puerta a abrirla.
I open a little bit. I usually ask, what happened? What do you want?
You can answer in Spanish if you want. That's
Okay.
fine. But you made contact with him, you communicated with him at the door, correct?
Usted tuvo contacto con él, se comunicó con él en la puerta, ¿correcto?
And then he went upstairs?
Through the door.
And then he went upstairs?
Él fue abajo.
Él esperó porque yo le dije que no podía hablar con él porque estaba en el teléfono.
He waited because I told him I could not speak to him, I was on the telephone.
Yes, I was busy, I told him.
How long was he waiting for?
¿Por cuánto tiempo esperó él?
A minute.
Okay. And then, how long did you actually talk to him?
Entonces, ¿cuánto tiempo en actualidad habló usted con él?
At that moment,
Yes.
I didn't
You
speak.
didn't talk to him at all?
No, because I was on the phone.
So you never talked to him when the first time he was at your door?
Entonces, ¿usted no creo como la primera vez que estuvo en su puerta?
I told him, I cannot speak with you because I am busy with the phone.
Okay. And then he left
Él se fue
Yes.
and went upstairs.
y se fue abajo,
Abajo?
downstairs.
Where
Up-
abajo?
upstairs.
The other way? Oh, no. He went to Marjorie's house, apartment.
Okay. And you saw him leave and go to her apartment?
Usted vio que él se fue y fue al apartamento de ella.
Yo vi que él fue hacia el lado izquierdo,
I saw that he went to the left side.
but I think he went to see her.
Okay. You actually saw him leave and go to her apartment?
Usted actualmente lo vio que él se fue y fue al apartamento de ella.
Yo vi que caminó hacia el lado izquierdo,
I saw that he walked
pero
towards the left side.
no sé exactamente si fue. Yo pienso,
I don't know exactly if he went, I think.
Okay. And you said he was gone for some time and then came back?
Usted dijo que se fue por un tiempo, después regresó.
How long exactly was that?
¿Por cuánto
A
tiempo?
minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
¿Por cuánto tiempo fue? Exactamente 5 minutos, 10 minutos.
no, less than 5 minutes, was rápido.
It was fast.
Okay. And he came back with Marjorie?
Él regresó con Marjorie.
No.
He came back by himself to your
Él
apartment
regresó solo a su apartamento.
after about 3 minutes.
Como alrededor de 3 minutos.
And then,
I need to hear a response, so you can't.
Necesito
I'm sorry,
una
I'm
respuesta.
sorry.
Y te
Be asking questions,
Okay,
that doesn't
sorry.
give me a record.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Okay.
Tiene que contestar, por favor, señora.
Okay, sorry.
So, when you saw him the second time, he was with Marjorie?
Cuando usted lo vio la
Yes.
segunda vez, ¿fue con Marjorie? Yes.
How did you see him the second time? Were you looking out the window still?
¿Cómo lo vio usted la segunda vez? ¿Estaba usted viendo por la puerta todavía, por la ventana todavía?
Yes, yo estaba adentro in the laundry, and my laundry has a big window. The curtain was open, so I can see, I can hear very well because I was doing the laundry, it was open the window.
Okay.
Did you see any confrontation with him and Marjorie?
¿Vio usted confrontación entre él y Marjorie?
Yes,
Were they arguing?
¿Estaban discutiendo?
yes,
Did you see any touching between the two of them?
¿Vio
No.
usted
Two of
que
them
se
touching?
tocaron entre ellos?
no,
And you saw them the whole time
Usted lo vio todo el tiempo,
through the window?
por la
How-
ventana.
They were right in front of the window?
¿Estaban justo delante de la ventana?
yes, no. For example, I was here, no close here, but I can see, like, I'm here and you are there. I can see you can talk with another person close to you.
But they came down and stood right in front of your window the whole time, and the whole time they were together, you saw them.
Estaban su ventana todo el
Yes.
tiempo.
Now, when left your apartment the first time and went upstairs,
Cuando el señor Caballo dejó su apartamento y fue arriba la primera vez,
you don't know what happened after that. You're not even, you testified you weren't even sure if he went, you weren't even sure where he went, you just knew he went upstairs,
usted no
correct?
se aseguró qué pasó después de eso, usted no estaba seguro dónde él fue, sino que te vio que caminó hacia la izquierda.
Yes.
So you don't know what happened when he was upstairs?
No.
Eso usted no sabe lo que pasó cuando estaba arriba.
Porque yo,
And when he came back, he and Marjorie came back downstairs at the exact same time?
Cuando él regresó, él y Marjorie bajaron la misma vez.
no.
Okay. When did he come down?
¿Cuándo bajó él?
¿Cómo?
When did Mr. come downstairs?
¿Cuándo bajó el señor
How long? Perdón.
Excuse me.
¿Cuánto tiempo,
let me try this.
¿Cuánto tiempo él demoró en bajar o?
Are you saying how long did he take to come down?
No, who came down first, Mr. or
Him.
Marjorie?
Him.
¿Quién bajó primero?
How long?
El señor o Marjorie.
Him.
How long was it between him coming down and Marjorie coming downstairs?
¿Cuánto tiempo tomó entre que él bajó y Marjorie bajara?
Almost immediately.
Okay. Were you standing by the window the whole time?
¿Estuvo usted parada por la ventana todo el momento del tiempo?
Yes.
You were looking out from the moment he first knocked on your door, and you till how long?
¿Estuvo usted mirando fuera por la ventana desde que él primero tocó su puerta? ¿Por cuánto tiempo estuvo usted mirando por la ventana?
Difícil question, exactly.
You heard a knock on the door. You approached the door.
Él tocó la puerta, usted se acercó a la puerta.
You just discovered there was Mr. You didn't open the door.
Usted descubrió que el señor no abrió la puerta.
You stood there by the window.
I need some responses in between
Tiene que
Oh,
dar
I'm
un
sorry.
questions.
Again, you're-
To answer the questions.
Sorry.
If you're just making a statement, then you need to stop.
Sorry. Sorry if I could say that.
I'll repeat the question so she can
Voy a
answer verbally.
repetir la pregunta para que usted pueda contestar.
Okay.
You heard a knock on the door. You approached the door.
Usted oyó un toque en la puerta, usted se acercó a la puerta. Sí,
Yes or no?
Yes.
And you discovered it was Mr. Kabashi standing
Usted
there.
se dio cuenta que el señor
And you didn't open the door, but you saw him through the window.
Usted no abrió la puerta, pero lo vio a través de la ventana.
No abrí la puerta también porque estaba en pijama.
Well, I also did not open the door because I was in my pajamas.
Yes.
I'm just, but you say you were able to see him through the window,
Pero usted dijo que
Correct.
usted pudo verlo por la ventana, ¿correcto?
Yes.
and then you were able to see everything else that transpired that day.
Y usted
Through the
también
window.
pudo ver todo lo que ocurrió ese día por la
Yes.
ventana.
And you never left the window at any
Usted nunca
time.
se fue de la ventana.
No.
You didn't leave.
No se fue.
You stood there looking out the window from the moment Mr. Kabashi knocked on your door, or thereabouts, until how long?
O entonces usted, desde que el señor Capaz tocó la puerta, usted estuvo en su ventana hasta por cuánto tiempo?
Eso fue, todo fue muy rápido.
Everything was very fast.
But throughout the whole time, you were standing by the window looking out.
Yes.
Pero a través de todo el tiempo usted estuvo mirando por la ventana.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any reason?
Now, you were doing your laundry at the time when I knocked on your door.
Usted estaba lavando su ropa cuando hizo la puerta, ¿verdad?
And,
Sí,
Yes, I was my day off, sorry.
yes, and that's the reason you stayed in that area pretty much, because you were doing your laundry.
Objection, Your Honor, leaving.
Usted se quedó en esa área.
Yes, that's
The
right.
court, wants to stay remarried, right?
Okay. Well, what were you doing while you were looking out the window?
¿Qué estaba usted haciendo mientras miraba por la ventana?
My laundry.
Okay, that's all. That's all.
Eso es todo.
Anything?
No further questions.
Then the witness is free.
Usted está libre para irse, señor, sin excusar. And is the interpreter free to go as well?
Yes.
Anyone else?
Thank you so much.
Does the defense have any other witnesses?
One moment, please. Defense rests.
Okay, Ms. Singh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may be seated. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, both the state and the defense have rested their cases. It is now time to listen to closing arguments in this case. Now, I do caution you that what the state and Mr. say at this point is not evidence. However, their arguments are meant to aid you in your deliberations. The attorney for the state will proceed first.
Thank you, Howard. You know, I stood here earlier today, I had a long day, and I started with this. That's what it was all about. That's what it was all about. Arguments, neighbors. I told you exactly what it would be about. I told you exactly what you were here for the witnesses. Now the judge is going to instruct you on what the law is. And like I told you at the beginning, in order to prove a battery, the state had to prove the defendant intentionally touched or struck the victim against his or her, the victim in this case being Marjorie Malone. You heard testimony from the officer, Officer Khurrum. When she appeared on the scene, the individual seemed struck, shocked, angered, and her hair would be sharpened. Contact. Touched against his or her will. That was the testimony that you heard up there today. Each and every one of you saw two witnesses stand up there. I told you the state was going to put on two witnesses. Put on the victim and put on the officer. Ms. Malone. Ms. Malone testified that she went into her house, didn't allow other individuals to enter her house. And on that day, Mr. the defendant in this case, entered her house. The door was closed. No testimony contradicts that fact, that the door was closed. Nobody else saw what happened inside that house. You heard testimony from Ms. Marjorie that she was struck when she saw him. He entered the house, entered the floor, just basically stood right there, right in front of her, and she was struck. Get out of my house! Get out of my house! That was not contradicted at no point in time. That was never contradicted by the defense or in her own testimony. He left the house. Nobody saw his actions. He entered the house and he exited the house. That's what all witness to everything. You heard the testimony that he exited the house, and a few minutes later, went over to his property, and was somewhere in that location. The witness of the defense put up says she saw everything the whole time through slats in the door.
Objection. Facts not in evidence.
Well, what the court does is I caution the jury. Like I said before, what the state says and what Mr. says at this point is not evidence. You are to remember consider the testimony and evidence as you remember it to be. The argument is only meant to aid you in your deliberations, and that's it. The court will give you the law applicable to this case. Okay, you may proceed.
She initially approached him and he was in front of the slats in the door. And she stated she moved away from him. But yeah, she had full view the whole time. The whole time. We don't have evidence of where the window was. We don't have evidence of where the door was. We don't have none of it. But yes, she observed them the whole time. She never lost sight of him the whole time. She lost sight of him just when he went upstairs, but she never lost sight of him after that. I'll let you think about that one. Then, Miss Marjorie was looking for help. She was struck. She didn't know what to do. You heard that testimony. She didn't know what to do. She was looking for help. She was looking for somebody to help her. And she went to the witness's house, the defense witness's house. And was looking for help. She was like, help, help! The testimony of Ms. Malone was at that point in time. She remembered everything. She saw Mr. approaching from the back. She was in a small enclosed area. You saw the pictures. Take the picture back. Take the picture back into the jury. Look at the space in which she had. She had no space. The only upstairs was his apartment. That's the only space. And he was approaching. Frantically, she didn't know what to do. Grabbed her by the back of the hair. He yanked the back of the hair. And struck her one good time. And then he walked away. And then he just walked away. And then the testimony was that she walked away, and Winter had also called the police at that point. She had gotten struck. Neighbors weren't helping her. She was being helped. There was nobody else there. That was the testimony they heard today. Now, in reference to the trespass, the judge will instruct you on that as well. And as I already explained to you, the judge will instruct you on the law, but what you have to look at is three separate things. Defendant willfully entered or remained in the conveyance. The conveyance of Ms. Marjorie Malone, that apartment. Did he willfully enter or remain in that premise? I'll submit to you that he would. Number two, that apartment was in the lawful possession of Ms. Malone. Was it her apartment? I don't think that's been contradicted by any party here. By the defense, or by the state, by the officer, or by Ms. Malone. And the defendant entered or remained in the property was without permission, express or implied, of Malone, or any person authorized to give that permission. You think she wanted him in there? An individual that she had complained about in the past? You think she wanted him in there? I want you to think about that one. I'll submit to you that she didn't want him in there. You're the trial of the facts. You've heard everything this case has to have. The judge will instruct you on what beyond reasonable doubt is. You've heard all the evidence. After hearing all the evidence, I submit to you that there's only one result you can reach in this case. That's a guilty verdict. What do you think about that?
The truth does not change. That's the nature of the truth. It stays consistent. It doesn't change. Now, you heard the testimony of Marjorie Malone. She's trying to pull a Goldilocks on you people. So what does she do? She tells the story, it's too hot. On that day, she tells the police, oh, he attacked me in my house. You heard the officer. The first story is too hot. Now the next story, let's do this one. It's too cold now. And then she comes in here today and she's got her story just right for everybody. Oh, it didn't happen in my house. It happened in front of the neighbor's house. Because she's got to account for a lot of inconsistencies. Being, number one, the neighbor. You know, how do I try to position this attack in some location or area or some manner that I can have the neighbor corroborated or something? Or maybe we could say that, the neighbor went inside and then the attack happened or whatever was the reasoning at that time. But there's a pink elephant in the room right now. And that's, if I didn't have her on that day, if I didn't go and knock on her door, I would have nothing here in front of you people. Nothing at all. To say I'm an innocent person. I didn't do this. I got into an argument with the lady. She got pissed off and she went home and that's what she did. She just called police. Hey, I got attacked in my house, this guy invaded my home. I mean, think how severe, the allegations are. It strikes me that it's a miracle that I'm not standing here facing much more severe charges. But, make no mistake about it. You heard what she said, and I think she had every intention of trying to do something to me, something. But how would you account for her story changing in terms of the location of the attack? That's so critical when you think about it. I think the only thing we do know is that she's alleging an attack occurred. But there's been evidence presented by the prosecution that contradicts themselves. She had contact with the officer, 5 minutes after our argument. I think her memory would be as clear as could be at that very moment. She made contact with the officer, which she told the officer, he attacked me in a hallway. The officer, you heard her words, in the hallway in between the foyer. Clearly, this attack, when she relayed her story to the police, clearly she stated it happened inside her home. And she's testifying to the contrary here today. Did not want to be here. I had to subpoena her. I had to basically force her to come here. That's Marjorie's friend. Why would she have a reason to lie? She's not linked to this case in any way. She's not going to get anything out of it. She doesn't get anything for lying. She doesn't get anything for doing anything. She came in here and she told you the truth. That's what she did. She has no motive. She's not filing a lawsuit claiming neck pains, back pains, emotional pains, all kinds of pains. She has nothing to gain. And she is a reluctant witness, does not want to be here, did not want to be involved, basically because she's afraid what that lady might do to her at some point in the future. If she's a witness to what she did to me.
And at this point, it's pretty much, it's not even facts and evidence.
Instructor Terrio, that you are to make your decision based on what you remember the evidence to be. What the attorney says, what Mr. says at this point, it is not evidence. Go ahead.
So, if you were to put yourself in her position, you would understand. She genuinely has a concern about coming here and testifying. Maybe she could be next. Who knows what's the story with this lady? Marjorie Malone sat here and lied to you about being arrested. I don't have any recollection of it, nothing. I don't recall that. 6 months probation, violating probation, everything. She goes, I don't remember it. I don't remember it. There, that's how she deals with that. Okay. I didn't come here to lie. I didn't come here to lie. But she came here to lie. That's what she did. There's nothing in evidence that contradicts anything I told you from the very beginning. That I never touched her, other than her testimony here today. There's no bruises, there's no injuries, there's nothing. I mean, just imagine if she had a pimple on her back, and I'm sitting here subpoenaing these medical records, and they come back and say, oh, we got a bruise, we see something, it looked like a bruise. Just think of the terror I had to go through at every stage in this case, just to bring it to you people, and have somebody out there adjudicate this properly. They never picked up the phone once. Prosecutors knew about the downstairs neighbor from day one. But remember, I told them she's a witness. No, we don't want to call her and investigate this case. We don't want to pick up the phone and spend 10 cents and investigate this case and see what does she have to say. They call their own witnesses contradicting each other. The police officer. I mean, they knew before they called the police officer that she told the police she was attacked in her house. The police officer came and said exactly what I said she was going to say. Because that's what she told them. They got somebody crying, screaming, yelling, just jumping through hoops to get an arrest to happen. And she effectuated an arrest. I mean, it's not very difficult to do that. It's not difficult to do that at all. I'm standing here as proof of that. You know, they're in a predicament. They don't know what to do. They got one person screaming, yelling, another person they're going to is saying nothing happened, you know, and they just want to deal with the situation by lopping it on me and let me prove it here for you guys. This is the system. This is what it's about. You people are here to cut through all the lies. You're gonna go in that room and you're gonna look at what was presented in evidence. And if the inconsistencies in the prosecutor's own witnesses doesn't strike a chord with you guys in terms of reasonable doubt, I mean, what would be reasonable anymore at this point? I felt like I gave considerable doubt. To the best of my ability, I'm not even an attorney. I cannot control Marjorie coming on the stand here and telling you guys, yeah, destroyed her life. I pulled her hair, pulled her back, did whatever it is. I can't control those kind of people. You know, I can stand here and fight for my rights. And I think I proved that standing here, pro se, not even being an attorney, but I had to defend myself because it was such a personal attack. In any case, how do you deal with an attack like this? They say there's a system set up for it. They say every one of you 6 people are the safeguards that will prevent people from being able to just get up on the stand and tell any old thing to get a conviction, to put the pieces in place for some cash money. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't work. She doesn't go out and work. She comes here and tells us she's a counselor.
Contradiction of the evidence, complete contradiction. That's all you have to support.
Can I see counsel,
She's a telephone psychic. I don't know if that constitutes having a job or not. In my eyes, it doesn't. I go out and work for my money. I travel an hour each way to get my paycheck.
Mr. You cannot testify.
Just to touch on a few things prosecutor mentioned. Just had a clear view of the entire application from start to finish. There should be no question in your minds about that. He said blinds, she said window, she said she saw everything, beginning to end. And everything she said contradicts what Marjorie said. She doesn't have a reason why, Marjorie does. She is not a willing witness. Marjorie has been more than a willing witness in this case. Has probably reached out above and beyond what a normal defendant might want to do to pursue this case. It's sad, it really is. You know, it really is. The damage has been done. If you think that an acquittal is going to cause me to go out and celebrate, you're wrong. I'm drained. I'm exhausted. The truth should matter for something in this case. The truth is what we're here to preserve. And I can't do any more than what I've done to present this case. I rest.
Supposedly sorry for the moon-shaped pieces on the door, to the window, to doing her laundry and picking up stuff out of laundry. She saw everything. Wow. It's pretty good peripheral vision, if I might say so myself. You've heard the evidence. You've heard the facts. Strike, hair to be shuffled. Listen to what judge is going to instruct you. Remember what every single witness testified to. Defense witness never stated that she saw. She only saw him step outside, go to the left side. Whatever happened over there, happened over there. There's nothing contradicting that. The defense wants to state that something occurred in that. Nothing occurred over there. Everything was seen. There's nothing contradicting that fact. He entered that house. He entered that apartment and was told to leave. Why? Because he was not allowed into that house. Exited, pulled her hair. 2 witnesses. State to the same fact. The yank of the hair. Both of them testified to the same fact. Her hair was reshuffled, and her hair was pulled. Defendant intentionally struck or touched Ms. Marjorie Malone. That doesn't change. Listen to what the state has to prove. Listen, remember the evidence. Listen to the judge's more instructing laws. With that, I'm confident that you will return a guilty verdict. Thank you.
You may be seated and still bring me the verdict forms, please. And the clerk will read the verdict. Sorry.
In the County Court of the 17th Judicial Circuit in Broward County, Florida, case number 05003941MM10A. State of Florida versus U.S. Verdict as to count one. We, the jury, find as follows the defendant. The defendant is not guilty, so say we are. Verdict as to count two. We, the jury, find as follows the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty, so say we are. This 11th day of October, AD 2006 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Mr. Lee, four persons.
The state of the jury poll.
No, yeah.
Okay, then the court would like to again thank you, jurors, for your time and your attention during the trial. I know that you took time from busy schedules, answered your subpoenas, became a part of the jury pool without knowing whether or not you'd actually be chosen to sit on the jury. What you've done is very important, however, because without having answered your subpoenas and become a part of the pool, Mr. and other individuals in his same position would not have had the opportunity to exercise their constitutional right to have a jury that appears make a determination as to whether they are guilty or not guilty. And this court feels that by simply answering your subpoenas, that you've allowed our system of justice to hopefully remain alive and well. Not only does this court thank you, but so does my staff, the respective attorneys, Mr. the County of Broward and the state of Florida. And I do have for each of you certificates of appreciation. The court only wishes that it were more.